So, hello everyone again. This is another of our Road and Nazarene podcasts. This is the one we're going to do about documentary films. So, I'm Nazarene Prod and...
I'm Solitary Ronan Phillips.
Yes. So, we're... this is our first serious one we've done of the year. We did a funny one last time. So this is the one we have to use our brains a little bit and then hope we've got something to say that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
that might be, might not.
Yeah.
Might be a very short video.
Yeah. It might last another 2 minutes, which will make it a lot easier to edit than normal.
Yes.
If we don't have anything to say. So, I should start by saying we've actually been challenged by Folgers and Ashes to watch a film because, well, basically it was really my fault, right? Because
you're getting the blame anyway.
What?
You're getting the blame anyway.
No, it was actually my fault. I can't actually put it on anyone else but me. Because when they started challenging each other to watch bad films, I told SGS to give Isaac, Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Yes.
Which was very nice of
terrible.
Yeah. And then later on I kind of vaguely challenged them to watch Hellender 2 in our last video. So now they've had enough and they're challenging us back. So they've challenged us to watch The Happening.
Yes. I had to spend £2.75 to get a copy.
Yeah. So we will watch it before the next video. I already had The Happening, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. So we'll have it. We'll watch it and we will report back on the next video. So next video will be a bit more highbrow than that at the end of it.
Yes.
So you can look forward to that. We're getting tortured because of me, basically. It's literally all my fault. I cannot blame anyone.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's basically Ronan has to suffer from my bad behaviour.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I've obviously seen clips of it and it seems very strange.
It is. It's very, very strange. But we better go back to our actual matter at hand, the documentary.
Yes.
Because we don't want to people think, when's this actually going to start?
Well, do you want to go straight for the World War II ones?
Well, I was going to say maybe we should talk about documentaries generally first before we actually go into...
Yes.
It might be easier than actually me saying about how horrible my last year's been by watching all these documentaries. Because you can see that on my channel. You can see the whole thing on my channel, how many I've watched. So, what do you like in a documentary?
Well, documentaries are funny because obviously we've learned from certain filmmakers like Michael Moore that what we see, even although documentaries are supposed to be factual, might not always be factual. So you have to kind of take them with a slight grain of salt.
Yeah,
obviously...
Brian De Palma says that you should... the cinema lies 24 frames a second.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're kind of told, oh yeah, this is true. It's the same with films that are based on a true story. They're usually embellished slightly. But you have kind of two sorts of documentaries. The ones that try and be as factual as possible, which sometimes can be a little bit dry. And then you get the kind of Werner Herzog documentary that is more kind of...
experience.
Don't know how to call it, but more kind of non-fiction rather than documentary factual.
It's his feelings amongst the documentary.
Yeah.
Like he puts himself into it and he's obvious and he admits to it. Like his feelings have something to do with it. Yeah. And then
because no, I was just going to say sometimes the ones that go for this is the facts, only the facts can be a little bit dry. You do kind of need a kind of human way into the stories.
Yeah. I prefer the one that actually say this is my interpretation, but these are the facts that we know, and
Yeah,
then you can actually add or take away the whatever you want to from it.
yeah. So it's just like fiction films. That there has to be a kind of balance between the two kind of things.
Yep. And then there's also films like F for Fake, which is just a mockery of documentaries, basically a mockery of facts, and points
Yes.
out how essentially fake they can be and how you can say anything in a documentary, people believe you because you say it in a serious way, and then it turns out you've been lying your head off. And people have
Yes.
been believing you for so long that it switches over and there's been no they haven't noticed the switch over, which is what I think the Michael Moore documentaries are kind of like. And there's some right wing ones the same way that are.
Yeah. It's just because we kind of believe what we see. That's just a simple kind of human reaction to things.
Yeah, but
We,
it's
yeah, without because you'd rather just watch something and be told than go find out for yourself.
yeah. I mean, I love watching documentaries, but sometimes you feel conned later on when you read up about them and you realise there's some stuff there that's not quite
Yeah,
right.
because it's human nature. Every filmmaker will have a slight bias towards the story because obviously they're interested in the story they want to tell, but it's human nature to have a bias, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
Very few people can stay completely unbiased.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think basically documentaries, you just have to be very careful and just say what you feel about a subject, but
Yeah.
stick to the facts and try and have as many facts at your disposal and try and stick to that as much as you can. But I think you can sometimes tell sometimes something's going over the top because it's so general.
Yeah.
And a suggestion about something that it's not specific enough that you think, okay, this is just partisan politics here. It's not actually the reality of what we need to know about the situation.
Yes, and just like politicians, filmmakers can sometimes be guilty of twisting facts and changing facts slightly just to go with so it fits with their argument.
Yeah, especially if you find someone who's politically either to the left or the right, obviously, you should be a bit more suspicious, really, of it because you should be looking for what have they kind of massaged a little bit to suit themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that are you have to just be careful because filmmakers can be scumbags basically.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just like everybody else.
yeah, you just have to be careful because a lot of filmmakers present themselves as being the truth tellers and the truth guardians
Yeah.
as a way to hide their shadiness. So that's something we always have to be careful of. So I think that's us cover the general documentary. Like
Yes.
you have to be kind of careful. So did you want to go over now into the Holocaust then?
Yeah, let's get the Holocaust out of the way.
This could be 3 hours straight away.
I don't think I've seen as many as you have.
Yeah, yeah. Just look at my channel. There's a whole bunch of them I've done.
Yeah.
I've now stopped doing them because it's so depressing to do them all the time. It's like I need a break from it. It's like it's so depressing after a while when I don't know how many
Yes.
short films I've seen last year, but it's a lot.
Of course, it's more depressing because it's happening again and it will happen again. And
Yeah,
you'd like to think humans would learn, but they never do.
yeah. But the thing is, that was not the most depressing documentary I saw last year. The Holocaust ones. The most depressing one was the one I said was one of my the best films I saw last year, which is Fathers and Sons about
Yes,
Syria.
still haven't seen that one.
It's really depressing because it's happening right now, and it's like, how do we ever learn from our mistakes?
Yeah.
Just to watch this thing just keep going and going and going, and it's like, and the thing was, you can believe this one because it's not trying to push anything. It's just staying with the people and observing what they're saying. There's no like voiceover saying, "This is what we must do" or something. This is just like, this is what it is. This is life.
Yeah.
So I tend to believe that more than I believe anything else. There was one other one I did about the filmmaker who was stuck in his house in house arrest
Yeah,
from Iran. There was another one where it was just like him in the house talking about the situation. It's like you really believe that because it's like it happened and there's no like there's no bullshitting really in it. It's just like this is the situation. This is what I live with.
yeah,
But that's way off topic. I'm very off topic.
yeah. So for the Holocaust ones, you have, well, do like two examples. You have Shoah, which is massive
Yeah,
and long, and it is a bit of an endurance test. Let's be honest.
not as
And
bad the
then
second time though. Actually,
yeah, and then you have Night and Fog by Resney, which is only half an hour.
I know.
So there's two ways of doing it. It's Night and Fog's almost distilled down to, well, its core. Because I remember reading about Night and Fog, and then like 20 minutes in, I was going, yeah, this isn't too bad. And then the last 10 minutes happens, and it's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I think both of those films, you first see the both of them, they will depress the hell out of you. They will like just knock the stuffing out of you. Because I remember watching
Yeah.
Show the first time, and it was the same thing. It was like, oh my god, the whole way through it. But when I saw it again, it didn't feel because I was prepared for it. It didn't quite have the same sting.
Yeah, because there's times during Show when you watch it the first time, and it's just like, can you just switch the camera off? It's like, because it does get uncomfortable, but then that's kind of the point.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but both of them they're the two kind of most brutal ones. I think they're the ones that will shake you up quite badly.
Yeah, but they're also the two that are really essential if you have a collection. Not that you're going to watch them often, but it's good to know that they're there.
Yes, yeah. Like I watched them like 10 years ago, and then I watched them again this year, and it's like and I probably won't watch them again for another 10 years because it's like you can't keep watching
Yeah.
them. There's just no way your brain can take it. I mean, after last year, like the thought of even watching anything that subject at the moment is just like, nah, I can't do it. It's
Yeah.
just impossible. But there's other ones like Hotel Terminus, Albert Cloud's Barbie, which is also pretty devastating as you go into the idea about how he escaped from justice.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that one either.
That's
Apologies.
It's really brutal. And Sovereign of Pity, all about France in the war.
Yep, that's another fairly substantial one.
Yeah, you've seen that one, haven't you?
A long time ago, I need to rewatch it again.
All right, yeah, yeah. That one
Pretty
is
much like Show, I need to rewatch it.
yeah. That one's really, really brutal, and it takes its time, and you can trust it because it's showing you a variety of people through France, so it feels like a whole. It's covering all the different classes in France and how they survived the occupation. So you trust it because it's covering so much and covering so many people and showing the complications of it all and the differences between the anti-communists and the more centralist resistance people and all these different other things. There was communist resistance fighters, anti-communist resistance fighters, normal resistance fighters, and there's all the politics involved against the anti-Nazis that
Yes.
were stuck from before the war and would continue after the war, and it's like really.
Yeah, it's fitting that the cover's kind of grey, because it's certainly not black and white,
No.
as far as it's a complicated situation.
Yep. And you've got the film that Hitchcock was tied to, the
Yes, the BFI released the concentration camp films. Was it last year or the year before?
And Night Will Fall.
Yeah.
That's pretty disturbing as well. It's like that was hard to take, that one too. And there's all the Show spin-offs where
Yeah,
all
I
the
still haven't watched The Four Sisters.
Four Sisters is great, and there's the other ones, the Landman one they did a few years ago, which had the different ones about the surviving in the ghettos and why did no one believe what was happening, doing the politics involved in it as well. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of them that's really essential to watch.
Yeah.
But you will be depressed afterwards. You're not going to get through this and not be depressed.
Yeah, I mean, That's what they're there for.
I know.
To not forget, and well, I would like to think not do it again, but that's not really the case with human beings.
No, we're stupid as hell. We're really dumb. I know, and I know that sounds cynical, but if you watch documentaries or just watch the news, you see it happening all the time.
Yeah.
So we covered the Holocaust. Do you want to go any further on the Holocaust, because it can be depressing?
No, I mean, I think they're films that people should watch, but obviously you're not going to rewatch them that often, and if you do, you might have an issue. But they're certainly worth having in your collection and knowing that they're there, if that makes any sense.
Yep. So we've covered the Holocaust documentaries a little. I think we're trying to avoid going too far into them, because I've already gone too far into them already. So we're
Yes.
As a small wave of documentaries, you don't want to put everyone off. I was going to ask you, have you watched many Ken Burn documentaries?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, I guess I'll cover.
No, I need to.
All right. Have you seen Civil War?
I don't think so.
Have you seen The War?
Nope.
Have you seen Vietnam?
Bits of it.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess I'll cover Ken Burns, because I'm a big fan of his stuff. Right. Ken Burns did the. He's done a lot of documentaries, but he's done certain ones that are more famous. He's covered the West. I think as a producer, he's covered baseball, jazz, but his most famous ones deal with war and what people feel like in war and how it affects them. So the Civil War was about the American Civil War and how it started, how it continued, who rose up and who failed during the war, and how it resolved itself. It was an epic, like, 10-parter.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice. It's really good, and I'd happily watch it again. It's really complicated. It shows it showed a different time period and how people saw things differently, and it showed you the complications of the race issues, the complications of why people were fighting, what they were about, and just the difficulties of living the war. It was a lot of it was taken from people's journals. So they do the overall thing of what happened in the war, but also you'd have actors reading journals of different people who had journals as they went through the war, like Abraham Lincoln, certain soldiers who fought through it, certain historians talking about it. And it gave you a whole feeling for both the war and the people involved and what it meant to them. And that's something Burns continues to do. He always looks for journals and people's experiences, because it gives you an idea of not only what it meant to them, but how they thought and how they expressed themselves. Because in the war, you find there were a lot more. Because it was in the 1800s, people were much more civilized in how they talked, and they were more old-fashioned, and they viewed the world in a certain way. But it was more linked to religion and linked to grace and how to conduct yourself, even in hell. So it's very interesting and fascinating to watch all about that and how that affected the people and affected the politics involved.
Yeah.
And then he made later on he made The War, which is all about World War II, which covered the Pacific and the European campaigns from the American point of view. He didn't cover the British, he didn't cover anything else, he covered the American point of view of the war. And it affected America, which I think was the right way to go, because he's American, and it went on to praise of the war from his point of view. So it really worked, because he gave you a lot of details about. So at this point, he actually had footage, like film footage, as well as voiceover and stuff, so he could show scenes of the war and the hell of all the Pacific campaign, the hell of the European campaign, and that was one of the good wars. Same with the Civil War. And then went into Vietnam, which was one of the bad wars, and then he went through all of it, how it started, how the naivety of certain people made it worse, and how the mistakes were made, and how it's very complicated. So he's made some really good documentaries on war, but he's talked about the experience of them and what it meant to people involved, either a good war or a bad war.
Yeah.
So I think his documentaries are essential. They really are something special. I mean, Vietnam is probably one of the best things I've seen in the last decade.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And the war was the same way when the decade it was in, same as Civil War. So these are all high watermarks for me for not just documentaries, but for just films.
Yeah.
So I don't want to rant. I don't want to go on forever about these. They're really good.
All I'll say is about the Vietnam War that I've got the soundtrack because it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. That's as far as we'll go. I haven't actually watched it yet.
No, it's. I didn't want to go up to a big thing of how great it was. I just want to say these are really worth seeing. But yeah, I mean it's a substantial body of work.
Yeah.
And he's continued to do good work over the decades, so that's a sign of a good documentary filmmaker.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about Genocide. And for me, what might be the best film of the last 10, 15 years, which is Joshua Oppenheimer's The Act of Killing. And its follow-up, even though he made it before The Look of Silence. This is about the Indonesian genocide of over 1 million people that happened pretty much with the West's support. Oppenheimer spent years getting on the good side of a few guys who did the killing, which it's an amazing film, and it's amazing because there's moments that could only be created in cinema. It starts off and you think it's in really bad taste as the filmmaker gets these guys to recreate some of their murders and killings in the style of American gangster films, American musicals of the 50s, because that's what they were watching in the cinemas. And then they would go kill people, essentially state supported by the same government that's in power now. But then it turns, and as these recreations, as these guys are recreating these killings, some of them still have bravado about it because they're treated as heroes in some corners of society. But then one of the characters, a penny drops, and when that penny drops, it's just one of the most astounding scenes that I've seen in cinema for years. And it's profoundly moving despite what this guy's done. They recreate, they have musical numbers. It's like one of the most bizarre films you'll ever see, but it's also just amazing.
Yep. Sorry.
That was just a mini rant.
No. I was just trying to make sure I had something in the right place. Yeah, I was just trying to let you talk. I've also seen this, and I agree with you completely. I mean, Rooney did a really good video on this. So even though I'd seen the film, I did never bother doing a video because it was what was the point? You've already covered the whole thing anyway. But yeah, these are great films.
I should say the second one, which he shot before because he would have never been able to release it. I mean, the crew members on the credits are all anonymous because they don't want reprisals still. The second one is a guy whose father was killed during this time, and under the guise of being an optician, they get interviews with guys who are high up in the army and stuff. And it might not be as jaw-dropping as The Act of Killing, but it's still very powerful.
Yep. And I covered one recently from Japan, which was the same thing, which was about the Japanese war crimes.
Yes.
About a guy trying to go and make the people face their demons.
Yes, the Emperor's Naked Army marches on.
Yep.
Which is stunning.
Yeah, it's another one with the same kind of feel to it. It's just like all three of these films you have to see, basically. There's no way around it. You have to see these three films.
Yeah, I mean, I should say in the UK, at least you can actually buy Act of Killing, Look of Silence double on Blu-ray for like £7. So I mean, if you're in the UK, there's really no excuse to pick them up.
Yeah, and you now can buy the Emperor's Naked Army as well at
Yeah,
a decent price. It's just been released. It's wonderful as well. It's that kind of thing of seeing people talk their way through a situation, seeing people trying to avoid their own responsibility for something, and how they can lie to the camera or fudge things to the camera just to try and give themselves some grace notes or something to try and deny responsibility, but it's there.
yeah,
Just
because both of these films have moments where you just go, should this have been filmed? Is this really, you know? But then again, the resolution of it is just amazing and could only happen in cinema.
yeah, it's it's wonderful. I want to bring up Chris Marker just now, who
Okay.
I think I've seen his films more than you have. Is that right?
Yes, I've only seen the kind of famous ones.
Yeah, I've got his collection of films of Chris Marker. His stuff is. I wanted to bring it up tied to these ones because it's um they're political, but they're not political the same way. He's not trying to accuse anything of them, but he's trying to show the societies that create certain impressions and create certain
Yeah,
tensions. So he covers like the student riots in the '60s in America. He covers the sense of unease we get in modern times in San Solio. He covers like China. He covers Russia. It's all about how do people think and how do they interpret the world and how do they exist within the world. A world that's changing, the world that you can never quite get a grip on because there's so many points of view and most of them you won't understand, and how do you actually survive in a world with so many different varied viewpoints,
yeah,
and how to be humane within that world, which is kind of different from what the films we just talked about is. But these are wonderful films that you should really try and see because they're not like anything else you'll see.
yeah.
I mean, I think Mark must have been a big influence on Werner Herzog's documentaries because his documentaries seem to take the same approach as like the personal views of the world.
Yeah, well, we mentioned Werner Herzog and Errol Morris together because tied to the act of killing, there's a wonderful extra on the act of killing because Werner Herzog and Errol Morris both saw it before it was kind of distributed more widely,
Yep,
and Werner Herzog, well, both of them were just blown away by it.
yep.
So we should just talk about the pair of them because they are a special pair, one way or another.
Yes, I had quite a few there's Elwood Morris's written down because that's the thing is we've been talking. I've been typing up stuff just like I forgot
Yeah.
this person, I forgot that person. Oh, oops, you know. Um,
Well, I mean, Werner Herzog is one of the greatest fiction directors of all time, but still bizarrely underrated.
yes,
But he's had just as good or even better second career as a non-fiction, we'll call it that, filmmaker.
yeah,
But again, it's his own wonderful, slightly odd take on things that just make his films just so watchable.
yeah. I mean, his most famous documentary was Grizzly Man about the
Yes.
guy who lived with the bears and ended up getting eaten by them. But I
Yes.
don't think this is one of his best ones. I think it's a decent one, but I think it's some of his other stuff is more interesting. Like
Yeah.
he did. I mean, if Saw Rescued Down, that was originally a documentary about. He did a documentary for that guy first, um, which I thought was superior to the fictional film. I thought it was more interesting, all about what drove him and what was this guy who's just mad about planes, and no matter what
Yeah.
happened to him, he still had that feeling of he has to fly. And he did one about a cave in France in 3D.
Yes.
We-
Cave of Forgotten Dreams.
Yep, which is great. I've seen that in 3D. It's wonderful, but it's very personal though. It becomes
Yeah.
something that's only Herzog could have made that documentary and made it about the experience of the people who are interacting with it. He's done. he went to Antarctica and looked at people who work there as scientists.
Yeah, Encounters at the End of the World.
Yep.
He's done one in Volcano. He's done a really good one, Death Row.
I haven't
Not
seen that one
only
yet, but I've got it.
yeah, not only asking the guys on death row, but the people who work in death row, the people who execute them, the people who bury them. You know, but again, it's got that typical Herzog view of the world.
Yeah, he did one about the technology, the idea of the internet, and what does technology do to us as well? Does it
Yeah,
separate us or does it bring us closer together? He's very ambiguous about what it actually is doing to us. So
yes,
he covers whatever's interesting to him, basically. If something interests him, he'll cover it. He'll go do a documentary about it.
yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's we're kind of fanboys to Werner Herzog. We should just admit it. It's just
Yeah, I mean, he's still like criminally underrated for some reason.
yeah, he's done a lot of really good stuff. That's he also did this weird one with Brad Dourif. It's shot as if it's a documentary, even though it's a fiction film. But Brad Dourif acting as if he's an alien who came to Earth and he's telling you about Earth, what he thinks about Earth. But it's shot as if it's a documentary, but it's actually a fiction film. When it's like, to him, it's like the fiction and the non-fiction doesn't mingle, and it doesn't really matter what they are. If you see a lot of his films, the fiction films feel very documentary-like at times.
Yeah, they're shot that way as well.
Yeah, so it's like it all blurs with him. He's just a director who doesn't really care about what the separation. It's just, is it interesting?
Yeah, and Errol Morris, I think, came on my radar a lot earlier, and he's been making films for obviously a lot of years, 40 odd years.
Yeah.
And again, he makes kind of quirky, odd little things like Gates of Heaven about Pet Cemetery, or Vernon, Florida, about an odd little town where he's just letting people talk, and he knows that people will just reveal themselves to be odd little creatures.
Yeah.
And my favourite one is Mr. Death, The Rise and Fall of Ed Luther Jr., which is just an amazing film.
I haven't seen that one.
And if you can find it, I would urge you to get it. It's about, we're back to the Holocaust, but it's about this guy
Gross.
whose dad was one of the first pioneers of trying to make executions and death row as humane as possible. So Ed Luther was involved with that, and that's one half of the story, and that's like fascinating in itself. But then the second part is he somehow got involved with a Holocaust denier, and he went over to Auschwitz to run samples and tests, even though he's not like a chemist or anything. And then he kind of came out and said, oh yeah, they couldn't have been gas. So pretty much his career was ruined. But again, it's just because he kind of wanted attention, and he was just kind of... It's a really bizarre, strange little film about this little guy who just... I urge you to watch it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet. I've got quite a few of his films though. I've seen The Thin Blue Line, which is
That's
his famous one.
probably more famous one.
Yep, it's very good. But I mean, he did The Fog of War with Rob McNamara,
Yes.
which is very good. All but the point of view of the guy everyone blamed for the Vietnam War, and have him explain his point of view, his side of it.
Yeah.
He did Standard Operating Procedure, which is about the people who were in the who were accused of torturing the Iraqis after the war, and seen their point of view, and seen how they say they were told to do it by the government, and now they're getting charged, and it's like, where do their where's their responsibility in that?
Yeah.
He did.
I would recommend Taxi to the Dark Side along those kind of lines. It's not by Errol Morris, but again, it's about torturing of prisoners in Desert Storm.
Yeah, there's Tabloid as well. I just saw a while ago. So there's a lot of good ones, a lot of really good ones. I've seen some, you've seen others. It's like they all are very good. He's hard to get a hold of, but a lot of good directors are hard to get hold of. You just have to really put the effort in and
Yeah.
try your best.
But I think he was a pioneer and kind of really influential to generations of filmmakers after him.
Yep. I've got written down Hoop Dreams, which
Yes, I was going to mention Hoop Dreams and Undefeated, which is a high school American football film, which again has kind of similar themes to Hoop Dreams as far as these poor kids who pretty much their only way out is sport because they have, they're surrounded by gangbangers and the drug trade, and kind of three kind of kids are kind of focused on compared. I think is it two in Hoop Dreams?
I think it started out as two, maybe one dropped out after a while.
But what happens to the three kids in Undefeated in the last act is like really quite moving.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Alright, yeah, I've seen Hoop Dreams. I've just bought the Criterion version of Hoop Dreams, the DVD of that, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it. Haven't seen it for a while.
I haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah. There's also one I saw recently called Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez, about a football player who get indicted for murder, and it talks about the class issues, the variety of different issues that made him go crazy, as well as potential concussion issues as well.
Yes.
And it's worth seeing. It's on Netflix. It's worth seeing, and it's not as good as Hoop Dreams, but it is worth seeing because it covers the downside of that macho culture and what could happen when your brain's getting smashed about constantly, especially if you're already starting off being a bit having your own problems even before you do that.
Yes, he had issues before.
Yep.
He had issues at college as well.
Yep. So there was lots of problems
before he got to the pros.
Yep. But it's definitely worth seeing. But the other ones I think were probably more substantial because they're not talking about Psycho, but that one's worth seeing anyway. I also want to bring up, we've seen Citizen 4.
No.
It's the one about the Edward Snowden one, about the journalist who met with him. Laura Poitras directed it, and she was in the room as Edward Snowden brought the information to the Guardian, and this was in the room with him as he's explaining what's going on, what the surveillance actually is doing in the world.
Right.
So it's really good. And she also did Risk, which was all about Julian Assange and his collapse from being the kind of guru of telling the truth to being in the embassy trapped for years and all of that. And it's showing you kind of his ego and how some of the people involved with him were a bit dodgy and how he could be a bit dodgy as well. Even if some of the allegations against him weren't true, there was enough to say that he's not exactly what he presents himself to be. Suggests this documentary at least.
Yes.
But Citizen 4 is a better one. Citizen 4 is really good, all about something happening that's going to affect the world as it happens.
Yeah.
So these are really good documentaries. You can get them in a pack for when Dogwoof does them. Because Dogwoof does a lot of documentaries.
Yes, Dogwoof's excellent label.
Yep. Thing is, I've been buying a lot of their documentaries just on the cheap on eBay. You can pick them up.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of them myself to watch. They just do interesting stuff like the Mexican gang wars. There's one about that, about how people fought back against the gangs and how that get corrupted. They've just done a bunch of stuff, all about like where the diamonds come from to power the phones that everyone uses and how that's in a war zone and all of that stuff. So they do a lot of interesting documentaries. Some of the documentaries are better than others. Sometimes the subject's better than the actual execution, but they bring a lot of stuff to the fold so you can see it rather than just having it being ignored.
Sure.
Yep. But I find a lot of the Dogwoof ones, sometimes the people who direct them try to be too Michael Moore. Good, so that becomes a problem. I was going to bring up nature documentaries that I watch a lot of. I tend to be kind of addicted to those things. Like
Yes.
it's out of control. It's like planet Earths, blue planets,
Yes.
anything that space documentaries. I've got the Universe, the History Channel one, which is 6 seasons long of everything you could possibly think of about science or the universe. I have them all. I bought the box set for the whole thing. I've kind of it's a bit about controlness. I've got the documentaries about science.
Yes. And obviously the space documentaries,
Yeah, and
like
just
For All Mankind and Apollo 11.
yeah, like I've even get 3D documentaries of this as well, like stuff in 3D. That are just if it's anything. Another thing is if it's stuff you'll never see in your life, I'll watch it in documentaries.
Fair enough.
There's IMAX documentaries about like the Grand Canyon and Under the Sea to see these kind of creatures you'd never be able to see. It's like I just find it fascinating to just see things you don't have the skill yourself to look at, but you can see in documentaries and with all these people who that's where they usually find that's usually the way they develop all technology they end up using in film because they end up always using the HD stuff first and these nature documentaries. So they're always ahead slightly of everyone else with their technology because they needed to go into volcanoes and do any of that crazy stuff that would kill you normally. Like, I mean, they're not as insane as Werner Herzog stuff where he seems to go for anything that could possibly kill you. They try
Werner Herzog is a law unto himself.
Yeah, but the BBC spend a lot of money on these kind of documentaries and try to do things with them that are just fascinating, just about the way the planet's going, the way the animals are. So do you watch that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Yes. Well, so it's not just me then.
No.
Oh, good.
But again, it's always tinged with sadness because we're screwing it up.
Yeah. Like I find that I just wait till they come out in Blu-ray and then buy them then rather than watch them on TV. Yeah. They're going to be better quality, so I'd rather have the good quality and see it right.
Yeah. And you can watch it on a big screen, which was better anyway.
Yeah, and you can see the quality and just all the details. You can find out much more of the world and things you'd never think about, like how gases work in the ocean or something. There's like they suddenly come up in that kind of documentaries. Like I never thought of that before, and suddenly you get this whole 20-minute thing about it, or how do penguins migrate or something.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for tigers, so pretty much anything with tigers I'm going to watch. So
yeah, so I guess you watched the Africa show a few years ago.
Yeah, and the spy cam one that they did with the tigers. They also did a really good one with the polar bears as well, the spy cam thing.
Yeah, anything and there's some good stuff with wolves as well. How wolves travel through Canada, Canadian woods and things as well. With all the ice, some of that stuff's great. So I mean, they have documentaries, but they're different types of documentaries. There's no like political side to them. They're not about humans at all, but they're about how we exist in the world.
Yeah, I really dislike nature documentaries that then have whole bits about humans in them, and it's like, what are you doing? I don't want humans in it. That's the whole point.
They're annoying. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Have you seen
screw stuff up?
You've seen Fata Morgana, the Herzog one he did years and years ago.
Yes, years and years ago. Again, I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, it starts off with nature and it comes to the world as it's infected by humans.
Yeah.
So as you just talked about it, I thought, yeah, Herzog covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously with infection we have to go.
Yeah, Herzog's on point with chaos theory and uncaring universes.
Yeah. He's we should just call this whole documentary thing We Love Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
that should be the title, I think. So you want to talk about film documentaries?
Yeah, if you don't have anything else, I thought
written down.
I thought we could just talk about documentaries about filmmakers or the filmmaking process, and then that would bring us obviously full circle to our channels are essentially about films.
Yep.
So, obviously, the three kind of famous ones, two probably more famous than other, is obviously Hearts of Darkness, which
Yep.
is about the making of Apocalypse Now, which is just sensational. Burden of Dreams,
Yep.
which is back to Herzog,
Yep.
with the making of Fitzcarraldo, and Chris Marker's AK, which is the making of Kurosawa's Ran,
I haven't
which
seen
maybe
that one.
hasn't been, yeah, which maybe hasn't been seen as much as the other two.
Yeah.
That's actually included on the Studio Canal Blu-ray of Ran.
Yeah, I've got it. I just haven't watched it. It's one of those ones.
Yeah,
It's Chris Marker one I haven't watched. I've watched his more obscure ones, but his famous one
yeah.
I haven't watched.
There's brilliant scenes on the side of Mount Fuji when there's all these extras, and Kurosawa's like walking up to the 52nd soldier and saying, "You're holding that spear wrong. You need to obviously I'm biased for Kurosawa, but
Yeah.
it's just amazing to see the master at work at that age."
Yep. And how he can still be so focused on what he wants to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Hearts of Darkness and Burden of Dreams, if you haven't seen them, are just amazing for different reasons.
Yeah. There's one, John Boorman made a film, documentary about Lee Marvin. It was shot like 20 years ago for the BBC. It's really good. It's worth seeing. It's hard to get hold of now, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
No, it's really good. It talks about how the war affected him and how, like, certain films were an expression of his anger about the war and what happened, and how his life went. And
Yeah,
how,
I mean, I think I've kind of garnered more respect for Lee Marvin when I heard about his war experiences and the fact that he was one of only like 12 guys that came back from his platoon, and he always felt guilty about it.
yeah.
And he always wanted the violence in his films to actually be done as properly as possible.
Yeah, it's all about that. And it's all about the feelings of affected him during his life. I mean, it's a smaller subject in some of these films. It's only like 50 minutes, but it's so good. It's so focused on something in a way that something like Heart of Darkness can wander all over the place because so much went wrong.
Yeah.
This one just focuses on the one person, what their experiences were.
Well, I'll just mention two that are kind of what might have been, which is Jodorowsky's Dune
Yep.
and Lost Soul, Richard Stanley, and The Island of Dr. Moreau, which I think you've made a video about.
Yes, it's a great documentary, and Richard Stanley's finally made another film with
Yes.
Colour Out of Space, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Yeah, it's I think both those projects were doomed, though. I think they were doomed. There was no way it was going to go right for them. I think they were just but again, they have what could have been. There's some other good ones. I mean, there was one about Abyss, making Abyss, that was included on the DVD.
How Everybody Didn't Die was
Amazing, because it was
amazing.
such a traumatic film to make. And it was just like, it was one of those films where it was much more difficult than anyone thought it was going to be, including the director. And he was like, I thought it would be difficult, but I didn't think it would be this difficult.
Yeah, as soon as you get people and vast amounts of water together, it's
Yeah.
always troublesome.
Yeah, Waterworld's another one where I've had a documentary about that as well, an Arrow release.
Yeah.
And how traumatic that was. It was like, it's funny, whenever you see a director make a film with water, usually they don't go near water ever again. Like, Spielberg doesn't go near any water now in his films after Jaws.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I mean, one of the best ones that wasn't released theatrically, but again, it's on the extras, is Terror Takes Shape, which is the making of The Thing, which is about 90 minutes, so it is actually feature length. That one's just fantastic.
Yeah, there's also the one about Heaven's Gate, on Heaven's Gate Blu-ray. It's also very good about how that went wrong. That one went wrong. That was a obviously traumatic film. I actually find that the documentaries on the films that go wrong are much more interesting than the films that go right.
Yeah.
Because I watched one about Cleopatra, the one about the 60s Cleopatra movie, talking about everything went wrong in it. It was like so much more fascinating than the film itself. It's like the film can't compete with the actual story of the making of it, because that's where all the interest was.
There's certainly one from a historical point of view, certainly for those of us in the UK, is the Video Nasties documentaries that were on 2 DVD box sets.
Yep.
They're just fascinating about the history of the Video Nasties and the BBFC and that whole story.
Yep. I did a video on that as well. Just
Yeah.
recommend it. Go see my video on it. But yeah, it's terrific. It's really fascinating how censorship works and how it can go completely wrong when it's just a bad taste. It's just like, you don't like it, don't watch it. It's
Yeah.
all it ever was. You don't like it, tough, just don't watch it. It's fine.
No, because it gives you a list of all the ones that were on. What were the list? There was the really bad list and then the quite bad list.
The banned
And it was-
list, the kind of banned list, and the list we don't recommend, but they were still ended up being prosecuted anyway. And some of them are insane. It's like, why is this on any list?
I know.
And other ones are like, this film would have disappeared if you just left it alone. If you'd left it alone,
Yeah.
few people have watched it, realised it was terrible, and ignored it. And now,
But it does really show that it was a kind of scary time because it shows like people owning shops that were going to be prosecuted and like sent to jail for having like the Evil Dead.
I know, it was just stupid. It was that kind of idiocy that only Britain can survive, only Britain can really do, is just like, what the hell were they thinking?
Yes, and obviously Mary Whitehouse appears. And if you're not familiar with Mary Whitehouse, Google Mary Whitehouse.
Yep. She's she hated Doctor Who. She hated anything that actually had imagination. She really hated anything that was a bit funny. She'd hate it.
But again, it's one of those things of how on earth did it get to that stage? How on earth did that happen? But it did.
But yeah, but we've got all this type of free speech at the moment, which is exactly the same problem. It's like, yeah, people might see something that might offend you, so what? Who cares?
Yeah.
Just don't be offended. Stop being a child. It's exactly the same thing. The British people do not have this weird thing about taking offence with stuff that doesn't matter.
Yes.
We're just wimps, really.
Well, it's like the people who wanted Cronenberg's Crash banned, and of course they'd never actually seen it.
I know, they just they must protect other people, and other people
Yes.
don't care. Other people are fine. Just leave it alone, take it on with it. It's always really dumb prosecutions. You always find out as you go that the prosecution was just stupid. It was like, what is this about? This is just dumb.
Yes.
It's just bad taste. So what? Get on with it. Get on with your lives. Who cares?
But like you say, a lot of the films are so bad that if they hadn't been mentioned, nobody would have actually seen them.
And other ones are like brilliant films that should have been, that obviously had artistic merit to them. So why were they ever on this? Because it's like, you're moaning about this. This is well made.
Yeah, but they're fascinating documentaries if you want to know about your cinema history and also the history of Britain.
Yeah, history of Britain and it's how dumb it'll be.
Yes.
I'm actually looking forward to the documentary about this free speech stuff going on just now, because there will be one, but how dumb it all was. Yeah, people can be stupid. That's what you find out watching documentaries. People can be really stupid. I've given half a chance.
I actually still haven't watched the De Palma documentary. Do you want to talk about
that? I'm going to cover it in a video on my own.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but it's just like, it's a good documentary. There's also one about Milius. John Milius is the one about him as well. But that was more of a normal documentary. The De Palma one's De Palma talking to Noah Baumbach and someone else about his career, talking about the different careers, paths he's had, about the good stuff and the bad stuff that's happened to him in his career. Apparently, someone's going to do one on Paul Schrader soon as well. There was a Milius one about his ups and downs in his career, so they're starting to come out. There was one about Spielberg recently as well, which was a bit foreign, so it wasn't really worth much.
Surprise.
Yeah. So that's now coming out because all these directors are now getting on a bit. So So they're doing these documentaries with their careers now. So the De Palma one's really good. The Milius one's really good. I'm looking forward to the Schrader one, but we'll see what the other ones are like. But yeah, I like a good documentary about a director. But I mean, sometimes you get those documentaries on like films that are older, like in the Blu-rays
Yeah.
of films that are older, you get stuff. There was one about Cary Grant and I think it was North by Northwest Blu-ray. You get stuff every so often, some decent ones about the careers and the good side and the bad side of the careers. So you just keep your eye out for them, really. But I'm going to cover that when I do the rest of my De Palma season, which is coming soon.
Sure.
So is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think I'm nothing on the top of my head,
Yep, I'm kind of...
which isn't much of a surprise.
yes. I've kind of covered most of the stuff, and I haven't get too stuck down in anybody or any subject for too long, which is good. Oh yeah, I know one. And then on the Alan Clark box set, you get all these little mini documentaries through every era of his career. It's not one long documentary. It's a short one, 15 minutes long, but they're definitely worth seeing because if you put them together, it'd make a great documentary.
I mean, I did a double take with Alan Clark's Elephant, and the extra on that is one of those phone-in shows from the time, and it's just people phoning in, going, "What was the point of that?
Yeah, I know.
This guy's mad.
Yep.
It was pointless." It's like, it's a lovely
point.
snapshot of that period.
Is that thing? You kind of get the point, but miss the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's worth seeing as well. But yep. So we've got a plan for the next video, which you'll see soon. So we do have plans for this channel, but we hope you enjoyed this documentary.
Yes.
We were going to do it before Christmas, but we were lazy. That's it. We were lazy.
Yep. There's no other excuse.
So we hope you enjoyed. We finally got to it, and we will get to the happening. We will get there.
Yes. So leave your comments below what your favourite documentaries are, which documentaries we haven't mentioned that we should check out.
Yep. Yeah, because we'll probably miss something really important. Because you get that feeling of like, I know there's something I missed, but...
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for coming back to listen to us. Yeah.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.